Hello. So, since I last made a video on this channel about Tottenham or anything football related, especially Tottenham though, because obviously I'm a Tottenham fan, the following has happened at the club. I'm going to read it out because so much has happened in the space of, 3 months I think it is since I made a video. This is what's happened at Spurs since I last made a video. We got knocked out of the Champions League by AC Milan. I went to the home game. It was really bad, really bad. Um, we drew to Southampton away from home, bottom of the league, Southampton, after being 3-1 up and conceded a 95th minute penalty, which resulted in Antonio Conte, who was the manager back then, absolutely destroying the players, the culture of the club, the board, everything in the most unbelievable tirade of, you could call it abuse, I think I've ever seen from a manager in a press conference. That led to him being sacked over an international break. Uh, Astonishingly, his assistant manager, Christian Stellini, got put in interim charge until the end of the season. All of his backroom staff, all of Conte's backroom staff, stayed with Stellini to what they thought was going to be the end of the season. Paratici then got banned for work that he did at Juventus a few years ago, banned from all global football activity. Paratici then resigned following his unsuccessful appeal. There was a rumour going round, unconfirmed as of yet, that the season ticket prices will be rising as of next season by the club. Scott Munn was appointed the chief footballing officer of Tottenham Hotspur, which will be to come into effect as of July. We were hammered 6-1 at Newcastle, including being 5-0 down after 20 minutes in probably the worst 45 minutes in Premier League history from any club ever. Christian Stellini then got sacked as the interim manager. Ryan Mason was appointed as the interim manager. And the fans have just gone absolutely ballistic, and the Levy out movement is gathering pace. Yeah, that's quite a lot's happened, hasn't it, really? So hello, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all keeping well. Hope you're all right out there. Sorry for the lack of content. The reason why I stopped uploading is because I was so sick of Antonio Conte and his Tottenham Hotspur team. I just lost all interest in it. I could not stand the guy. The way he treated the club with such disrespect, the way he spoke about the players, the culture of the club, the board. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the board, but the way he just went after everybody, his demeanour, his behaviour, his attitude, his tone in press conferences. Not once did he ever give off the impression that he was ever pleased or proud to be Tottenham Hotspur manager. Could you imagine what half of us fans would do to be Tottenham Hotspur manager? I would give mostly anything to have a week in charge of the club, and here he was on £15 million a year, and he was acting like he was doing it for charity. Disgraceful. The football was at the worst football I've ever seen at Tottenham, ever. Um, it was just so bad. The players had stopped playing for him. We couldn't defend. They looked scared to play, his sort of tactics. They looked fed up to play his tactics. The fans were bored of it. Fans were chanting Pochettino's name in the South Stand after games. That's another thing that happened as well. Pochettino's about to take over at Chelsea. I mean, I know that being a Spurs fan at the best of times is stressful, but Jesus Christ, it has been bad in this last 6 months. I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong, I think Levy had no other option but to sack Conte. But why did he hire Stellini? That apparently was Paratici's idea to get him in for the end of the season for a bit of continuity. I mean, Christ, that was a bad idea as well. I'm not even sure giving it to Ryan Mason is the best idea, being he's been a coach, seeing as he's been a coach under Conte, Nuno, and Jose Mourinho as well. I mean, what methods has he picked up in the last 3 years? It's mental. It's absolutely mental. But yeah, I'm so glad that Conte has gone. I never want to see him anywhere near the club ever again. He was a disgrace. I wouldn't go as far as saying I hated him, but I hated him as Tottenham manager. It was awful, absolutely awful. But we move forward. Football is all about eras and cycles and generations and whatever else, and we move forward. And now Daniel Levy, I mean, some could argue that his final chance was appointing Antonio Conte on 15 million a year, but he's not going to go anywhere. That's clear. Even if we get taken over by some, I mean, people are saying, what was it, an Israeli billionaire or an Iranian billionaire is planning a bid on buying the club. I mean, I've seen in the, like a lot of Tottenham aggregators and journalists are saying, even if we do get taken over by this billionaire, person, he's going to stay as chairman anyway, so it doesn't matter. I mean, fans are understandably very, very annoyed with Levy and the way he runs the club and the decisions that we make and the recruitment policy that we have recently and the managerial hiring that we have recently. And there is no doubt about it that we are at a very bad point in Levy's ownership, and it's not been great the whole time. I think he's done some great stuff for the club, but recently he's got caught up in his own hype, and he's just made terrible decisions which have drifted away from what Tottenham should all be about. Should we have gone and got Mauricio Pochettino? I'm not sure it was the right idea to go out and get him. Yes, it would have been great for nostalgia, and I think that he would have returned as a better manager, but I'm not sure he was still the right fit under Daniel Levy and Donna Cullen. I think from what I've heard, Donna Cullen was the main driving force behind Levy not even approaching Pochettino. So it was never going to happen, but the fans will still pine for him. Maybe not so much now he's going to Chelsea, Pochettino. I must be honest. I think that has somewhat tarnished his legacy going to one of our biggest rivals. I mean, they're not in the greatest of spots anyway, are they? They could get relegated this season. I mean, they won't, but it'd be hilarious if they did. But Levy now has got to get this next managerial appointment correct, because we're a broken club right now. Make no mistakes about it. We're like a vase that's been shattered, and the new manager's got to come in and glue all the pieces back together. It's not going to be a quick fix. Whoever comes in needs 3, 4, 5 years. He needs not total say, but he needs a huge say over transfers. He needs a new sporting director or director of football in there, however you want to call it. And there are lots of names being bandied about. I've written a few names down here. I'll put the graphic up on the screen now, which shows Sky Bet's most recent favourites to take the job. You've got Julian Nagelsmann there, Brendan Rodgers, Vincent Kompany, Luis Enrique, Ange Postecoglou. They're all very interesting names, but they're also quite varied names. Obviously, Julian Nagelsmann is the one that I think that the club are trying to push for, but he's going to be a very expensive and relatively inexperienced manager to go in. Yes, okay, he was fantastic at Bayern Munich until he got sacked. He'd only lost 3 games all season. He won every single Champions League game. His teams score an enormous amount of goals. I think he's been manager for over 300 games in the Bundesliga already in his career. So, he's definitely one to keep an eye on, Julian Nagelsmann. But I think it's going to be an expensive one because he was put on gardening leave at Bayern Munich. I think that they'd have to come to some sort of compensation agreement to release him from his contract at Bayern Munich, even though he's been sacked by them. Because I think that the way modern football works is you're not sacked, you continue to get paid, and you get put on gardening leave from a club until you find another job, and then you get released from that contract. So by a few accounts, there's only a few Tottenham accounts that I really pay interest to, like Jack Pitbrook and Alistair Gold, the two really well-connected Tottenham journalists that I tend to pay attention to. But yeah, they do look to be wanting to get Julian Nagelsmann in, which I think would be a good appointment. No doubt about it, he's a very promising young manager, and he's got his Bayern team and Leipzig team and Hoffenheim team to play fantastic football. But I think he's only 34, 35 years old still, and he's never even played or managed in the Premier League once. So it's a very, very big step up here, very big step up. And I'm curious to see what they do with him. I'll just go for a couple of others. Brendan Rodgers has got Levy written all over it. Obviously, I think he's 50 years old now, Brendan Rodgers. Obviously, got sacked from Leicester because it looked as if he was going to take Leicester down this season after winning the FA Cup just a couple of seasons ago, which is just crazy. But his teams play very, very good front-footed, attacking, fast-flowing football. Not sure what he's like as a character. He gives me a bit of a David Brent vibe. Maybe that wouldn't go down so well with some of the players at Spurs, but make no mistake about it, he does play very good football, and I think that the next manager, I mean, we said it before we hired Conte, and I think Levy did that classic in the Spurs DNA quote on the website, didn't he, when we were looking to hire Nuno? But we need to restore our identity and our philosophy as a football club, because we have lost it. The academy is so far disconnected from the first team now. Apparently they don't play the same tactics as the first team, which is very unusual, because usually at any big club, every single team from the senior team right down to the under 16s, 17s play the same football, so that if a player is ready, he steps up into the next age group and knows what position, knows what tactics he'll be familiar with. There's none of that at Tottenham anymore. Apparently, Conte didn't even look into the youth teams or anything like that. And that's just so unlike Tottenham. Remember under Pochettino when we had 5, 6, 7 England players all representing Spurs at the same time. We just don't have that anymore, and I think Spurs fans feel a real disconnect from the club at the moment, because we're going out and we're signing all these big international players like Perisic and Romero and all these guys, and it's not working. We're drifting further and further away from a club that we can be proud of every single day. And I think this new manager's got to really reconnect everything back together, and has got to share the same beliefs and the same style, the same identity as the fans do. Will Brendan Rodgers do that? Well, he's got a good track record. He's got Premier League experience, tons of it. And he does manage teams that score goals, and he has won trophies. Okay, a lot of his trophies have come from Celtic in Scotland, but why not maybe give him a chance? I know that he wouldn't be a very popular appointment, but I wouldn't be against it. He's not my first choice, but I wouldn't be against Brendan Rodgers. Just reading off the list here, Vincent Kompany done an absolutely incredible job at Burnley this season. He's turned them from a team that were relegated and on their knees playing hoofball football pretty much for 10 years under Dyche, to really, really neat, tidy, attacking, fast-paced football. Got them promoted at a canter this season with, they have got quite a few Premier League players still there, but he's brought in his own players and they've made a mark in the Championship, and it'll be very interesting if he doesn't go to Spurs and he stays in Burnley. It will be interesting to see how they take on the Premier League next season. I'll be very, very curious to see how that goes. Then you've got Luis Enrique as well, obviously one of the bigger names on the list of managers that's been linked to us at the moment. Obviously, he won the treble with Barcelona. He had prime Messi, Suarez and Neymar up front. I think I could win the treble with Barcelona with them 3 players up front. But it's very interesting to see, sort of like how he does, because by all accounts he didn't do great at Celta Vigo or Roma when he was there. He'll want a lot of money to take over, probably 10, 12 million a year. And by all accounts, he's a very spiky character too, and he's quite demanding from the board. And does Levy want to jump out of one pot and into another pot from Conte to Enrique, who's going to demand a very hefty transfer budget and be very demanding in the way that he works? I mean, it's all well and good being demanding and, knowing what you want, but you've got to back it up with the football and, like I say again, the philosophy and the style that, that the club want. And I think they might stay clear of Enrique. I think they've held talks with him, but I'm not sure they'll go for him. I think there's a few too many red flags with Enrique. My pick, well, to be honest, I wouldn't mind Nagelsmann, Rodgers or company, but the one I'd really like to see is Feyenoord's manager Arne Slot. He has turned Feyenoord into a very, very exciting, dangerous attacking side. Young, exciting players all over the pitch. They'll run at you and they'll attack you and they'll shoot at you. Not physically, but they'll get shots off against you non-stop. I watched them in the Europa League this season. They were brilliant in the Europa League. Looks like they're going to win the Eredivisie in Holland as well. He's just done a fantastic job. He did a really good job at AZ Alkmaar before that as well. And I think he could be a very, very off-the-cuff surprise appointment. I think that, I've been backing him for quite a while now, and I would very much like to see him get the opportunity. Whether he will or not, I think they might stay clear of him. But there's a lot of these Spurs aggregator accounts, and a few of the journalists are saying if they don't get Nagelsmann, they might make Arne Slot their number one target. So it'd be very interesting to see what they do with him. But he would be my pick. Have a look at his final team if you don't know anything about him, because they're seriously good. I watched them beat Ajax at the Johan Cruyff Arena earlier on this season, and it was brilliant. I would love it. I would love an Arne Slot Tottenham Hotspur team. So yeah, that's it. That's a catch up for now, to be honest. There's a few bits and bobs that I've written down here, a few notes that I made before I logged on, but I thought I'd just freestyle this and talk to you guys, explain where I've been, why I haven't uploaded videos, and yeah, it's sad to see the season peter out like this, really, isn't it, if you're a Tottenham Hotspur fan? I mean, if I'm being brutally honest, this doesn't sound great, but I'd rather we just finish 8th in the league now and then not qualify for any European competitions next season, because the club needs a massive reset. We need a huge reset. We need players out the door, especially in defensive areas. I mean, I don't mean to pick on them, but players like Davinson Sanchez and Eric Dyer need to go, because their time was up years ago and we still haven't got rid of them. And it just feels like an end of an era, with Hugo Lloris going as well. I think he needs to go. We need a refresh of the team, and we need a sporting director. We need a new manager, and we need that fresh impetus in the team. Will Kane go? I think he'll probably go as well. If you saw his comments after the... what game was it at the weekend? Come on, George. Liverpool. After the Liverpool game at the weekend, he was fuming. And he started to make noises which he's never made before. And I think he's gearing himself up to go in the summer. It'll be a shame, but no Tottenham fan can blame him for wanting to chase trophies now. Hopefully he doesn't stay in England and he goes to Bayern Munich or PSG, where he can be guaranteed trophies. But yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done at Spurs, and I'm very curious to see what happens in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months. I just hope we pick the right people coming in to make these changes, and we stick with them, because we've got one of the best fan bases in England who travel everywhere in their thousands. Quite frankly, the fans don't deserve this. We deserve a clear identity, a clear explanation of where the club is going, and we're not getting it. So let's see what happens. Let me know what you think of the video. Are you glad to see me back? Probably not. But yeah, who do you want as manager? Who do you want in player-wise? Who do you want out player-wise? I'd imagine the players out are going to be the same as everybody else. But yeah, it's good to be back. I'll be making videos quite very often now. So obviously subscribe to me. Follow me on Twitter at JordanPomeroy00. And it's good to be back, guys. Let's see what the summer holds, shall we? All right, I'll see you later. I'll speak to you later on in the week. Thanks a lot. Cheerio, guys.